Today I'm going to be showing you how to make one of these great Irish crochet marigolds. They have a lot of texture, they have a lot of visual appeal. You can use one color, you can use many colors. These lace motifs are just beautiful. I've also included the marigold leaf along with a marigold, bud that's just in the process of blooming. In addition to using the thread for this lace work, you can also use a standard size yarn. So for example, I used the same marigold motif that you see with a sport weight silk yarn. It's a variegated yarn, and I used it for the marigold motif that I am including into my Medicine Garden sampler afghan. This would be block 2. So if you want more information on the Medicine Garden sampler afghan that is in the process of being put together at the time of this video, you can just visit that in my playlist, and you'll see all the blocks that I include, and you can decide if you like the motifs or don't like the motifs. It's all entirely up to you. You can make it as big as you want or as small, but there again, it's a sampler afghan, so it'll give you lots of options and lots of different designs and techniques to try out while making an actual functional, beautiful piece. But with that said, I am going to spend this video showing you how to make these marigold motifs. And these lace pieces, I actually have planned for an art piece, some lace art that I'm putting together that I will highlight in a video at a later date when it's actually finished. Welcome to Weaving Weird Studio and my creative weird life. My name is Sig, and what a pleasure it is to have you with me at this time today. It's your interest and support that allows me to contribute new content and weekly videos. Help us all grow together by tapping the subscribe bar, notification bell, and the like buttons. I look forward to your comments and always value your feedback. Now let's get started. So to begin with, I'm going to start with an adjustable ring. And then I'm going to crochet 7 single crochets around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I'm going to tighten my ring, and then I'm going to join. So after I joined with a slip stitch, I then go ahead and make a chain. And now I'm going to go and single crochet 14 single crochets right through the center, and I'm making a button of sorts. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Now I'm going to join with a slip stitch, and I'm going to chain 2, and I'm going to start making popcorn stitches. So I'm going to want 14 popcorn stitches all the way around. And for those of you who don't know how to do a popcorn stitch, I will show you what that looks like. Okay, so for this particular popcorn stitch, I'm going to use 4 double crochets. And in this first stitch, I have my first chain that will act as my first double crochet. So in this first stitch, I'm only going to need 3 double crochets then, plus my chain 2. Okay, so I have the stitches that I want. And in order to do a popcorn stitch, the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to pull my hook out, and then I'm going to reinsert it back into the very first stitch of this cluster. And then I'm going to go and pick up my loop, and then I'm going to pull it through. And that gives me my first popcorn stitch. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do it again in the next stitch. So I have my first double crochet, second double crochet, third double crochet, and fourth double crochet, all in that same stitch. And then I'm going to remove my hook, being careful not to pull my loop. And then I'm going to reinsert my hook into the very first double crochet of that cluster. And then I'm going to grab my yarn and I'm going to pull it through. Making my next cluster. And I'm going to continue to do that all the way around. And so when I finish, I should have 14 popcorn stitches. So again, 4 double crochets in the same stitch. Remove my hook, insert my hook into the first stitch of the popcorn of the double crochets in that popcorn cluster, and then I'm going to pull and begin my next cluster or my next popcorn stitch. Okay, now that you've completed your 14 popcorn stitches, then go ahead and join in the first popcorn stitch that you made. And then at this point, I'm going to change colors. Now you can continue using the same color as you please, sort of like I did on the Medicine Garden Block 2, where I just used a variegated yarn for that one. So I didn't have to change colors at all. But for the thread, I'm going to change colors because these marigolds I'm using on a different project. However, it is the same exact pattern used for the Medicine Garden Sampler Afghan, block number 2. So far, we've completed 3 rounds. We had the adjustable ring, and then the first round of 7 single crochets, and then the second round of 14 single crochets right over the initial 7 single crochets, and then 14 in round 3, you had 14 popcorn stitches. Now for round 4, I've changed to a more golden colored thread, crochet thread. And normally if I wasn't changing colors, I would just begin. After I joined, I would be in a position to start. But since I'm changing colors here, I'm just going to pick a spot and get my thread there, just get that tied on. And then the next thing I want to do is I want to do a double crochet, but I want to do the double crochet where I actually insert my hook into the next stitch of round 2. So you'll see what I'm doing here. So just like that, it's a double crochet. And then I'm going to chain 2. And then I'm going to double crochet in the next stitch on round 2. So basically what this is doing is it's allowing me to make a segment for each one of these popcorn stitches. And then it sets me up for the next kind of base or foundation for my next set of petals. So again, I'm going to chain 2, and then I'm going to double crochet into the very next stitch of round 2, right over those popcorn stitches on round 3. Then chain 2, and then again double crochet right into the next stitch of round 2, then chain 2, double crochet right into the next stitch of round 2. Okay, so we're going to continue on just like that. So now that round 4 is completed, you should have something that looks like this. Now for round 5, we're going to do some more popcorn stitches. So for what I'm going to do is I'm going to chain 2, and then I'm going to make 3 double crochets in that chain 2 space. And then I'm going to insert my hook as before, in that case in the chain 2, and then I'm going to make my popcorn. And then in this case I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to chain 1. And then in the next double crochet, I'm going to do a double crochet, and then I'm going to make 3 double crochets in the next chain 2 space. And that gives me a total of 4 double crochets. And then I'm going to remove my hook, and I'm going to insert it into the very first double crochet of that 4 double crochet cluster. And then I'm going to hook through my thread, and then I'm going to chain 1. And then I'm going to do it again. I'm going to make a double crochet right there in that next double crochet stitch. And then I'm going to do 3 more double crochets in the following chain 2 space. And then I'm going to remove my hook, and I'm going to reinsert it back into that first double crochet of these 4 double crochets that'll be in this next popcorn cluster. I'm going to hook through that loop, and I'm going to chain 1. And then continue that all the way. Okay, so to finish up round 5, just going to go ahead and join in that first stitch with a slip stitch. And now it's time to change colors again. Now for round 6, I'm going to go ahead and tie my new color in right in that chain 1 space between the popcorn stitches of round 5. And then I'm going to single crochet 1 in that same space. And I'm going to chain 4. And then the next chain 1 space, I'm going to single crochet, and I'm going to chain 4. And then I'm going to go to the next chain 1 space, single crochet, and chain 4. I'm going to continue that all the way around for round 6. So now that I've completed round 6, I'm going to continue on, in this case with the same color, for round 7. And I'm going to begin by making a single crochet, and then a half double crochet, and then 4 double crochets, and then again a half double crochet and a single crochet, all in the same chain 4 space. So I'm going to do it again in the next chain 4 space. This is going to give me a total of 8 stitches in that space, and I'm going to begin with a single crochet, a half double crochet, 4 double crochets, a half double crochet, and then a single crochet. And then continue to do that in each one of the chain 4 spaces, which will give us a total of 14 new petals for round 7. Okay, so now that you've completed round 7, you're going to join, and you're going to finish off right there. Okay, now whether you're changing colors or whether you're just using the same color or the same yarn as I did with the marigold I showed you that I made from the sports weight yarn, it doesn't matter, because we're going to finish off there, and then we're going to pick up in another position for round 8. Now this round gets a little trickier, so I'll go slow. So what I want to do is I'm going to do front post stitches. Okay, that's where I'm going to begin. And I'm going to actually do that into the round 5 popcorn stitches. Now, I've got my thread, or yarn if you're using yarn, and I'm going to bring my yarn around and have it towards the back of my piece like this, right? So I'm going to hold it. And I want to insert my hook here underneath this space of round 7 petals. And then I'm going to put my hook through the second double crochet in that 4 cluster of double crochets. So then I'm going to just hook my hook back, kind of back, so it's still into the front post. And then I just have to put my hook in towards the back so I can pick up my yarn before I get started. And then I'm going to pull that through. That's my front post. You can see it right here. And then as I get started, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to chain 3. And that's going to count as my first treble crochet. And then I'm going to make another treble crochet, and I'm going to do a front post treble crochet. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert my hook underneath that petal again into the 3rd double crochet of that popcorn cluster on the 5th row. And I'm going to pull my hook through, like so, and then complete my treble crochet. And those treble crochets, I'm going to treble crochet, or I'm going to do those treble crochets together, right? So this will ultimately end up as just basically the 1 stitch right there in the center. And so your piece should look like this, if you can see that. Okay, so then I'm going to chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then I'm going to do that same exact thing. I'm going to treble crochet 2 treble crochets together, front post, in the 2 middle double crochets of round 5 in the next popcorn cluster. And again, I've inserted it into the next front post. And then my treble crochets, my 2 treble crochets, I've just crocheted them together. And I'm going to chain 6. and I'm going to do it again. So I'm going to make a treble crochet. I'm going to bring my hook through the back of the next petal and into the second double crochet, the front post of that double crochet, the second one of that popcorn cluster. All right. And then I'm going to do, before I complete this treble crochet, I'm going to begin my next treble crochet. And I'm going to insert that into the third double crochet of this same popcorn cluster. And then I'm going to crochet them together, and then I'm going to chain 6. So far your piece should look like this. And again, treble crochet into the second double crochet front post of those popcorn clusters in round 5. My next treble crochet into the third double crochet of that same popcorn cluster of round 5. And you want to continue doing that all the way around. And so this is what you should look like so far. It's really beginning to take that marigold look. And your back should look something like this, the back of your work, or the wrong side of your work, whichever way you want to call it. Now I'm going to join right here at the top of this first treble crochets together. And we're going to do our last round, which is going to be round 9. And that's going to be pretty simple. It's just going to be a total of 12 stitches in this chain 6 space. And you're going to begin with a single crochet, and then a half double crochet, and then 8 double crochets, then a half double crochet, and we're going to finish up that last stitch in that chain 6 space with a single crochet. And then we're going to do it again in the next chain 6 space. Single crochet, half double crochet, 8 double crochets, and then a half double crochet and a single crochet again to finish up that next grouping of stitches in this chain 6 space. And that's all there is to it. So to finish up this marigold we're working on, I'm going to continue that same pattern for the next 12 chain 6 spaces. and then I'll finish off. And of course, as usual, block my work if it's needed. It may or may not be needed for this particular motif that you're working on. That's just really going to depend on the project you're doing, and of course the yarn or the thread you're using. And that's all there is to it. And if you hang tight, we'll move on to the next bonus segments of this piece, where I will show you how to do the marigold leaves. It's super simple, only take a few minutes. And the marigold bud, or the point of the marigold where it's just starting to bloom, if you're so interested in that particular motif. To begin with the leaves of the marigold, I'm going to begin with chaining multiples of 10. Okay, so however long you need it to be. For the sake of this example, I am going to go ahead and chain 20. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. So that's going to be basically the length of the stalk. And then I'm going to chain 10 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then in the second chain from my hook, I'm going to single crochet. And then I'm going to do a half double crochet. And then I'm going to do a double crochet. And then I'm going to do 3, or a treble crochet 3 times is what I really should be saying. So that'd be 1, 2, and 3. Then I'm going to do a double crochet the next stitch. And then a half double crochet. And then a single crochet. And that'll basically be my first leaf. Then I'm going to single crochet once, and then twice. And then I'm going to chain 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Again, I'm going to insert my hook in the second chain from the hook and single crochet. And then I'm going to half double crochet. And then I'm going to make a double crochet. And then I'm going to do a treble crochet 3 times. And then I'm going to do a double crochet. And then a half double crochet. And then a single crochet. And then I am going to single crochet 7 single crochets down the length of the stalk. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then again, I'm going to chain 10. And I'm going to make the leaves as before. And then I'm going to single crochet 7 more and make another leaf by chaining 10 and doing as I did the other individual leaves before. And then when we get down to the bottom of this, I will show you what to do next. Okay, so now that I'm at the bottom of my stalk, in that very first chain, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put 3 single crochets right around the bottom. And then I'm going to begin to single crochet on the way back up, but in Irish crochet fashion. So what I'm going to do is I'm then going to insert my hook right underneath the top loops, the front top loop and the back top loop of each single crochet just on the opposite side of my work. So I'm going to insert my hook right there. So when I make my single crochet again, I'm just going to put it right here underneath the top front loop and the top back loop, just right there. That's where I'm going to insert my hook to make my single crochet, so you can see how that stalk is looking. Now, as far as the marigold leaves are concerned, they're kind of staggered. So it's almost like a pole ladder in terms of how the leaves are situated on the stalk. So they don't sit directly across from each other, but rather they sit staggered across from each other. So I'm going to go about halfway up. So about, to the 4th stitch or the 4th single crochet from the last leaf made. So about halfway between the last 2 leaves. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to chain 10. And I'm going to make my leaf as usual. And then I'm going to single crochet as I had done before up until this next spot that sits between the 2 leaves on the opposite side. And then I'm going to put my next leaf like right in here. So I have that staggered effect. And then I'm going to single crochet all the way up until I hit the very first leaf that I made. And then I'm going to finish off. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to let you go ahead and do yours, and then I'll meet you right back here. So now when you've finished having woven your ends in, you should have something that looks similar to this. And now you can make this as long or as short as you like, so long as you keep it in the range of your 10 multiples. And if you're doing like a garden of marigolds, you can do a whole bunch of these different lengths and just kind of work them in there in different greens. So for this one, I'm just using your basic crochet thread in a myrtle green, but in the actual piece right here on this block, this one right here, I made with a sport weight silk variegated yarn, and that gives it just a little more texture, a little more interest if you like. Okay, now for the marigold bud, I'm going to begin by making a chain about the length of the stem that we would like to have. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball it here. Okay, so for this one, I did a length of 20 chains. Then I'm going to chain an additional 4 more. 1, 2, 3, 4. And in the 4th chain from the hook, I'm going to do a single crochet. And then I'm going to do a single crochet in each of the chains all the way down. So your piece should look something like this so far. And then once I get to that last chain, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to single crochet 3 single crochets. So 1, 2, and 3. And now as before, like with the leaves, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make a single crochet in each of the chain stitches going all the way up, except instead of entering here, I'm going to insert my hook right here under this front, top, and back loops. Okay, so you can see what your stock will look like with that particular stitch. I'm going to continue all the way up to the 4 chain loop at the end of our piece here. And I'll meet you right back there. So now you should have something that looks like this. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to chain 3 chains here into this chain 4 space. And then I'm going to double crochet 7 more times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now I'm going to chain 2 and I'm going to turn my work. Now once I've turned my work, I'm going to double crochet in the same stitch. And then I'm going to double crochet 2 double crochets in each of the following stitches. So that'll leave me with a total of 16 stitches. I'm going to chain 2, I'm going to turn my work. And I'm going to double crochet in each of the stitches. And then once you're finished with that, you're just going to fasten that off. But leave yourself a fairly long tail because you're going to need that extra length for a little embroidery work and a little stitching. So now we just need to make the random little petals that are sticking out of the top of that bud that haven't quite opened yet and just beginning to. So I'm going to put that right there for the moment. And then next I'm going to do my petals. So the petals are going to be various lengths. And the reason why I'm doing that is because that's kind of what it looks like when a marigold is opening up. And you'll see what I mean. So you might have maybe three different lengths to work with because they're going to be kind of staggered next to each other. And a couple of them may be on top of each other. So you're going to begin by making the chain of about how long you want this particular petal to be. So I kind of eyeball it. And I think, well, maybe I want it to be, oh, I don't know. I'll do a couple of more chains on that. I'll make this one 8 chains long. And then, so the next thing I'm going to do is in the second chain from the hook, I'm going to single crochet. And then I'm going to single crochet each additional single crochet all the way down the length. And then as before, as you saw with the stalks of the leaves and the flower itself, I'm going to put 3 single crochets in that last chain. And then I'm going to single crochet on up the other side. And of course, using the whole, pretty much the majority of the width of this petal as padding, if you like, and if we're talking in terms of Irish crochet. And basically, as before, I'm just inserting my hook right here under this top, front, and back loops of the corresponding single crochet. And then when I get to the end of this, I'm just going to fasten it off. Leave myself a bit of a tail for weaving. And then I've got my first petal. And I'm going to make several of these in whatever color that I want to. So I'll do some of these maize colored yellows, and then I'll do maybe a couple of the coral colors, and of course the pumpkin orange, and then some of the gold, just a little bit to kind of mix it up and make it go really well with the actual larger marigolds that I made with this Aunt Lydia's crochet thread. And I'll see you right back here in just another moment. So now, as you can see, I made several of these fingers, if you like, of these little petals of different lengths and sizes and of the different colors I was actually working with. And then I just sewed them together in the back and wove in my ends. So it's nice and clean and lays relatively flat. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the stem of my flower, and I'm going to use the green tail that we cut, the long green tail, and I'm going to sew in the back again this piece onto the stalk. And then if I decide I want a little extra visual texture, I might embroider a chain stitch with the rest of my thread. Now is the time for me to say goodbye. So until I see all you wonderful and creative fiber artists again, stay crafty, stay amazing, and above all, keep weaving your weird. Bye-bye now.